Actions Over Words, Raise Your Standards and Change Your Life, published by the Growth Mind Audiobook. Introduction. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity. They fail because they slowly become comfortable with standards that are too low for the life they say they want. They tolerate another missed workout, another unfinished project, another promise to start tomorrow. At first, these decisions seem small, almost harmless, but over time, they become a pattern, and that pattern becomes a life. Think about it. No one wakes up one day and suddenly becomes disciplined, financially secure, physically healthy, or deeply respected. Those outcomes are built quietly through hundreds of ordinary choices that almost no one notices. Choosing to begin instead of waiting, finishing what you started instead of making excuses, keeping your word even when no one is there to hold you accountable. The difference between an average life and an exceptional one is rarely found in one dramatic moment. It is found in the standards you refuse to lower when life becomes inconvenient. We live in a world that celebrates ambition. People talk about their dreams, post their goals, and make endless plans for the future. Yet talking about change has become easier than creating it. Information has never been more available, but real commitment has never been more valuable. Knowing what to do is no longer the challenge. The challenge is doing what you already know needs to be done, especially on the days when motivation disappears. This audiobook is not about chasing perfection or becoming someone else. It is about becoming someone you can rely on, someone who keeps their promises, someone who chooses discipline over comfort, responsibility over excuses, and progress over procrastination. Because confidence is not built by thinking positively about yourself. It is built by collecting evidence that you can trust yourself to act. As you move through these chapters, you will not be asked to rely on inspiration or wait for the perfect mindset. Instead, you will learn how to build a personal standard that stays firm when emotions change, when obstacles appear, and when quitting feels easier than continuing. You will discover that every action, no matter how small, is shaping your identity. Every decision is teaching your mind what you are willing to accept. Every habit is writing the next chapter of your future. The truth is simple but demanding. Your life will not improve because you want it to. It will improve when your daily behavior becomes stronger than your excuses. The quality of your future depends less on the size of your dreams and more on the consistency of your actions. Raise your standards, and your choices will begin to change. Change your choices, and your life will follow. So before you listen to another chapter, make one decision. Stop waiting for the perfect time, the perfect mood, or the perfect opportunity. Decide that from this moment forward, your actions will speak louder than your intentions. Not once, not when it's easy, but every single day, because the life you've imagined isn't built by what you promise yourself tomorrow. It's built by what you choose to do today. Chapter 1. Uncover the standards controlling your life. Take an honest look at your life and you will discover a truth that is both uncomfortable and empowering. The life you are living today is not simply the result of luck, talent, or circumstance. It is the visible reflection of the standards you have accepted over time. Every routine you repeat, every excuse you allow, every promise you keep or fail to keep reveals the level of behavior you have decided is acceptable. Whether you realize it or not, your standards are quietly directing your future. Many people spend years believing they need better goals. They write ambitious plans, imagine a brighter future, and wait for the motivation that will finally change everything. Yet, after the excitement fades, they often return to familiar habits. The problem was never the size of the goal. The problem was that the goal demanded a standard they had not yet chosen to live by. Imagine two people who both want to become healthier. They read the same books, watch the same videos, and buy the same fitness equipment. One exercises consistently, prepares healthy meals, and protects time for recovery. The other skips workouts whenever life becomes busy and tells themselves they will start again next week. Both desired the same result, but only one lived according to the standard required to achieve it. Desire may point you in a direction, but standards determine whether you keep moving when the journey becomes difficult. This pattern appears in every area of life. Someone who values honesty does not tell the truth only when it is convenient. Someone who values excellence does not give their best effort only when they feel inspired. Someone who values responsibility does not fulfill commitments only when conditions are perfect. Their actions are guided by standards that remain steady even when emotions change. That is why standards are more powerful than motivation. Motivation is temporary. It rises after an inspiring conversation, a powerful documentary, or a fresh beginning. But emotions are unpredictable. They cannot be trusted to carry you through months or years of consistent effort. Standards are different. They are the personal rules that remain in place long after excitement has disappeared. Consider the way you speak to yourself after making a mistake. Do you immediately search for an excuse, or do you ask what you can learn? Think about how you spend your free time. Do your choices move you closer to the person you want to become, or do they simply provide an escape from discomfort? Reflect on the promises you make to yourself. Do you treat those promises with the same respect you would give to someone else? The answers to these questions reveal your standards more honestly than any goal you have ever written down. The encouraging news is that standards are not fixed. They are decisions, and decisions can change. Every meaningful transformation begins when you stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "What am I no longer willing to accept?" That question shifts your attention from distant dreams to present behavior. It forces you to confront the habits that quietly hold you back and invites you to replace them with choices that support the future you truly want. Raising your standards does not require changing everything overnight. In fact, trying to transform your entire life at once often leads to frustration. Real change begins with small, deliberate actions repeated consistently. It begins when you decide that being late is no longer acceptable, that breaking promises to yourself is no longer acceptable, that wasting hours on distractions is no longer acceptable. These decisions may seem ordinary, but they gradually redefine your identity. Think of standards as the foundation of a building. A beautiful design means very little if the foundation is weak. In the same way, ambitious goals cannot support a meaningful life if they rest on inconsistent behavior. Strengthening the foundation may not seem exciting, but it determines how high the structure can safely rise. The stronger your standards become, the greater your capacity for growth. There will be moments when raising your standards feels uncomfortable. You may have to wake up earlier, say no to distractions, leave familiar habits behind, or accept responsibility for results you once blamed on circumstances. These choices are not punishments, they are investments. Every time you choose discipline over convenience, honesty over excuses, or action over delay, you strengthen the person you are becoming. Remember that your standards are revealed in ordinary moments, not extraordinary ones. They appear when the alarm rings before sunrise, when no one is watching your effort, when a difficult conversation cannot be avoided, or when quitting would be easy. Those quiet decisions shape your character far more than dramatic achievements ever will. Today, you have an opportunity to make a different choice. Stop measuring yourself by the goals you hope to achieve someday. Measure yourself by the standard you choose to uphold today. Let your actions become evidence of your values. Raise the minimum level of behavior you are willing to accept from yourself, and over time, your results will rise to meet it. The path to a better life does not begin with a bigger dream. It begins with a higher standard that you choose to live by, one decision, one habit, and one action at a time. Chapter 2. Break free from the motivation trap. Imagine waking up one morning feeling unstoppable. Your mind is clear, your energy is high, and your goals seem closer than ever. You promise yourself that this time will be different. You begin exercising, organize your schedule, eat healthier, and finally start working on the project you've been postponing. For a few days, everything feels effortless. Then life interrupts. Work becomes stressful. Your energy drops. An unexpected problem demands your attention. Suddenly, the habits that felt so natural begin to disappear. Before long, you're back where you started, wondering what went wrong. This cycle is familiar because most people have been taught to depend on motivation instead of commitment. They believe they need to feel inspired before they can take meaningful action. As a result, they spend more time waiting for the right emotional state than building the habits that create lasting progress. The truth is simple. Motivation is a visitor, not a permanent resident. It arrives without warning and often leaves just as quickly. If your actions depend on how motivated you feel, your progress will always rise and fall with your emotions. That is a risky way to build a future. Think about the people you admire most. Whether they are athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, or leaders, their success is rarely the result of feeling inspired every day. They experience fatigue, doubt, frustration, and disappointment just like everyone else. The difference is not that they possess endless motivation. The difference is that they have learned to act even when motivation is absent. Their decisions are guided by principles, not feelings. Consider a pilot preparing for takeoff. Imagine if every flight depended on whether the pilot felt excited enough to fly. No passenger would ever feel safe. Instead, pilots rely on checklists, procedures, and disciplined routines. They trust systems more than emotions because systems produce consistency. Your life deserves the same approach. Instead of asking yourself whether you feel like doing the work, ask whether the work aligns with the person you are committed to becoming. One of the greatest mistakes people make is confusing enthusiasm with progress. Starting something with excitement feels productive, but beginning is only the first step. Real progress is measured by what you continue doing after the excitement fades. Anyone can take action on a good day. Character is revealed on the difficult ones. Think back to a time when you achieved something meaningful. Perhaps you completed a challenging course, learned a valuable skill, recovered from a setback, or reached an important goal. If you look closely, you will probably discover that your success was not built during the moments when everything felt easy. It was built during the ordinary days when you showed up, despite being tired, uncertain, or distracted. Those moments strengthened your discipline far more than motivation ever could. There is another reason motivation is unreliable. It often tricks us into believing that preparation is the same as action. We read another book, watch another video, create another plan, or wait for the perfect strategy. These activities can feel productive because they create the illusion of progress, but knowledge without execution changes very little. Information becomes valuable only when it is transformed into consistent behavior. This does not mean motivation has no value. It can be a powerful spark. It can encourage you to begin a new journey or remind you why your goals matter. But a spark cannot keep a fire burning forever. The fire survives because it is continually fueled. In the same way, lasting growth depends on the daily choices you make after inspiration disappears. So how do you escape the motivation trap? You replace emotional decisions with personal standards. Instead of saying, "I'll work when I feel ready," decide, "I work because that is who I am." Instead of saying, "I'll exercise if I have enough energy," decide, "Taking care of my health is not optional. Instead of hoping you will make the right choice in the moment, establish rules that remove the debate before it begins. The more often you keep these promises, the more confidence you build, not because life becomes easier, but because you begin to trust yourself. Self-confidence is not created by repeating encouraging words in front of a mirror. It grows when your actions repeatedly prove that your commitment is stronger than your excuses. Remember that every person faces moments when quitting seems reasonable. The difference is not who struggles and who doesn't. The difference is who continues despite the struggle. Success belongs to those who refuse to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. From this day forward, stop asking whether you feel motivated enough to act. Ask a better question. What does the person I want to become do next? Then do exactly that. Some days, your progress will feel exciting. Other days, it will feel routine. Both days matter equally. Every disciplined action, no matter how ordinary, is another vote for the future you are creating. Motivation may help you begin, but it will never carry you across the finish line. That responsibility belongs to discipline, consistency, and the standards you choose to live by. When your commitment becomes stronger than your emotions, your actions become reliable, your habits become lasting, and your life begins to move in a direction that no temporary feeling can stop. Chapter 3. Become the person your actions prove you are. Most people think identity begins with belief. They tell themselves, I need to believe in myself first. But real identity rarely starts in the mind. It starts in behavior. You do not become disciplined because you call yourself disciplined. You become disciplined because you repeatedly do what disciplined people do. Your actions create evidence, and over time that evidence shapes the way you see yourself. Think about how trust is built between two people. It doesn't happen because someone says, "You can trust me." Trust grows because they consistently keep their word. They arrive when they say they will. They follow through on their commitments. They behave in ways that make their promises believable. The same principle applies to the relationship you have with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen self-trust. Every time you break one without consequence, you weaken it. This is where many people unknowingly hold themselves back. They make ambitious promises in moments of excitement, but quietly abandon them when life becomes inconvenient. They promise to wake up early, exercise regularly, finish an important project, or spend less time distracted. When those promises are broken repeatedly, something deeper than a missed habit occurs. The mind begins collecting evidence that those promises cannot be trusted. Eventually, doubt replaces confidence, not because of failure itself, but because inconsistency becomes familiar. The encouraging news is that the opposite is also true. Every action you complete becomes evidence that you are changing. It doesn't matter if the action seems small, reading 10 pages instead of scrolling through your phone, going for a walk when you would rather stay on the couch, finishing one difficult task before checking social media. These moments may appear insignificant on their own, but together they send a powerful message to your mind. I am someone who follows through. Many people spend years chasing confidence without realizing they are searching in the wrong place. Confidence is often treated like a feeling that appears before action. In reality, confidence is usually the reward for action. It grows when you repeatedly prove that your behavior can be trusted. Every completed commitment becomes another reason to believe in yourself. Imagine someone who wants to become a writer. They buy notebooks, read books on creativity, and tell everyone about the novel they plan to write someday. Another person says very little. They simply sit down each morning and write a few hundred words. At first, neither person has published anything, but after months of consistent effort, their identities begin to separate. One identifies as someone who wants to write. The other becomes a writer because their actions have made that identity real. The same principle applies to every area of life. You become healthy by consistently making healthy choices. You become reliable by keeping your commitments. You become courageous by acting despite fear. Identity is not something you discover waiting inside yourself. It is something you build through repeated behavior. There is an important question worth asking whenever you face a decision. What kind of person does this action reinforce? Every choice is teaching your mind something about who you are. When you choose to procrastinate, you reinforce hesitation. When you choose discipline, you reinforce responsibility. When you choose honesty, even when it is uncomfortable, you strengthen integrity. No decision exists in isolation. Every action contributes to the story you are writing about yourself. This is why small choices matter far more than they appear. People often dismiss ordinary actions because they seem too insignificant to make a difference. Yet a single action is rarely the goal. It is the pattern those actions create that shapes your future. A brick by itself cannot build a house, but thousands of carefully placed bricks eventually create something strong enough to withstand storms. Your habits work the same way. One disciplined decision may seem ordinary, but repeated consistently, it transforms your identity. Of course, you will make mistakes. Everyone does. There will be days when you miss a workout, delay an important task, or fall short of your own expectations. Those moments do not define you unless they become your standard. The danger is not failing once. The danger is allowing one failure to become permission for many more. Instead of asking, "Why did I fail?" ask, "What standard do I need to strengthen?" This shift keeps your focus on growth rather than guilt. Remember, identity is never finished. Every day offers another opportunity to reinforce the person you are becoming. The question is not whether change is possible. The question is what evidence you are creating through your daily actions. Your future self is watching every decision you make, learning what to expect from you. So stop waiting to feel like a different person before you begin acting differently. Act first. Let your behavior lead the way. Keep the promises that no one else can see. Finish the work you said you would do. Show up on the days when motivation is absent. Over time, those repeated actions will become proof of something far more valuable than temporary confidence. They will become proof that you have become someone who can be trusted, depended upon, and respected, starting with the person looking back at you in the mirror. Your identity will no longer be built on intention. It will be built on undeniable evidence, created one action at a time. Chapter 4. Remove the habits that quietly lower your standards. No one decides to live below their potential. It happens gradually through habits so ordinary that they rarely attract attention. One unnecessary delay, one promise postponed, 1 hour wasted, one excuse accepted without question. None of these moments seem important on their own, yet together they slowly redefine what you expect from yourself. Before long, behavior that once felt unacceptable becomes normal, and your standards quietly sink without you even noticing. The greatest threat to personal growth is not dramatic failure. It is comfortable repetition. It is doing the same things every day while expecting different results. Habits are powerful because they operate in the background. They require very little thought, which means they can either strengthen your future or quietly work against it. The challenge is that destructive habits rarely announce themselves. They disguise themselves as harmless routines, temporary comforts, or well-deserved breaks. Think about how often people justify actions they know are holding them back. "I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired today. Just this once." These phrases sound harmless because they promise that nothing permanent is happening, but every repeated excuse teaches your mind an important lesson. Your standards are flexible whenever discomfort appears. Eventually, the exception becomes the rule. One of the most dangerous habits is delaying action until conditions feel perfect. Many people spend more time preparing than progressing. They wait for more confidence, more knowledge, more energy, or more certainty before they begin. Yet perfection is an impossible starting point. Growth belongs to those who are willing to move before everything feels ready. Action creates clarity far more often than endless preparation ever will. Another habit that quietly lowers your standards is constant distraction. Modern life offers endless opportunities to escape difficult work. A quick glance at your phone turns into 30 minutes. One video becomes 10. A short break becomes an entire evening. These moments rarely feel harmful because they provide immediate pleasure. But every unnecessary distraction steals something far more valuable than time. It steals attention, and attention is the foundation of meaningful progress. Whatever repeatedly captures your attention eventually shapes your life. There is also the habit of making excuses that sound reasonable. Blaming circumstances, difficult people, lack of opportunity, or bad timing can temporarily protect your pride, but it also prevents growth. The moment every setback becomes someone else's responsibility, your ability to change disappears. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it is also freeing. When you accept ownership of your actions, you regain the power to improve them. Pay close attention to the language you use every day. Words such as maybe, later, I'll try, and hopefully often reveal uncertainty before any action has even begun. Replace them with stronger commitments. Instead of saying, I'll try to exercise, decide, I exercise because that is part of who I am. Instead of saying, I'll see if I have time, decide, I make time for what matters. Small changes in language often reflect deeper changes in identity. Removing harmful habits is not about filling your day with punishment or constant effort. It is about making space for better choices. Every habit you eliminate creates room for one that moves your life forward. Replace endless scrolling with reading. Replace complaining with problem solving. Replace waiting with beginning. Replace excuses with accountability. Improvement does not always require adding more. Sometimes it begins by removing what no longer deserves a place in your life. It is important to remember that habits do not disappear simply because you dislike them. They are replaced through repetition. If you want lasting change, make the better choice easier to repeat. Prepare your environment to support your goals. Keep distractions out of reach. Plan your priorities before the day begins. Build routines that reduce unnecessary decisions. Success becomes far more achievable when your surroundings encourage the behavior you want, instead of constantly tempting you away from it. There will be moments when your old habits call you back because familiarity is comfortable. That is normal. The goal is not to become someone who never feels temptation. The goal is to become someone who no longer allows temptation to decide the direction of their life. Every time you interrupt an old pattern, you weaken its influence. Every time you choose a better response, you strengthen a new one. Your future is not determined by a single breakthrough. It is shaped by the routines you practice when no one is watching. The habits you tolerate today become the standards you live by tomorrow. Choose them carefully. Remove the behaviors that quietly lower your expectations. Replace them with actions that reflect the person you want to become. And allow your daily choices to build a life that no longer depends on luck, motivation, or chance, but on the strength of your standards. Chapter 5. Create rules that make success automatic. Every day your mind makes thousands of decisions. Most of them seem insignificant. Should you wake up now or hit the snooze button? Should you exercise or skip it? Should you finish an important task or check your phone first? Individually, these choices feel small. Together, they shape the direction of your life. The more decisions you leave to the moment, the more opportunities you create for hesitation, excuses, and inconsistency. Highly disciplined people are often misunderstood. From the outside, they appear to have extraordinary self-control, as though they possess endless willpower. But if you look closer, you'll notice something different. They don't spend every day fighting with themselves. They simply make fewer decisions because they have already established personal rules. Instead of debating whether to do the right thing, they follow standards they decided long before the moment of temptation arrived. Think of a bridge stretching across a wide river. It doesn't ask each traveler where they want to go before deciding whether to support them. It performs its purpose every single day because it was designed to do so. Your personal rules should function the same way. They remove uncertainty and provide a reliable path forward, regardless of how you feel. Many people fail because they rely on daily negotiations. Every morning becomes another debate. Should I work out today? Can I postpone this task? Do I really need to finish this now? These conversations consume mental energy before any real work even begins. The longer the debate continues, the more likely comfort will win. Now imagine replacing those questions with clear decisions. I exercise every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I complete my most important task before checking messages. I read for 30 minutes before going to bed. Notice the difference. There is no argument, only execution. The decision has already been made. This is why rules are more powerful than intentions. Intentions depend on memory and emotion. Rules depend on commitment. An intention says, I hope I remember. A rule says, this is simply how I live. Your rules do not need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler they are, the more likely you are to follow them consistently. A rule such as never leave important work unfinished without a clear next step is easier to maintain than an elaborate productivity system. A rule like start the day without touching social media creates immediate focus without requiring constant willpower. Simplicity reduces resistance, and lower resistance increases consistency. Another advantage of personal rules is that they protect you during difficult seasons. Life will not always be calm. There will be stressful weeks, unexpected setbacks, and moments when your motivation disappears completely. During those times, emotions become unreliable guides. Your rules become anchors. They remind you who you are and how you have chosen to respond, even when circumstances become unpredictable. Of course, not every rule deserves a place in your life. Some people unknowingly live by rules that limit them. They believe things like, I always procrastinate, I'm just not disciplined, or I've never been good with money. These are not facts. They are self-imposed rules disguised as beliefs. Left unchallenged, they quietly shape behavior until they begin to feel permanent. Replace those limiting rules with empowering ones rooted in action. Tell yourself, I finish what I start. I protect my time. I keep promises to myself. I solve problems instead of avoiding them. These statements are not empty affirmations. They become meaningful only when supported by consistent behavior. Every time you act in alignment with them, you strengthen their influence over your identity. It is also important to recognize that rules create freedom, not restriction. At first, this may sound contradictory. Many people associate rules with limitation. But consider a musician who practices scales every day, or an athlete who follows a structured training plan. Their discipline does not reduce their potential, it expands it. Because the fundamentals are automatic, they are free to perform at a higher level when it matters most. Your own life works the same way. The fewer unnecessary decisions you make, the more energy you preserve for meaningful work, creative thinking, and important relationships. Instead of wasting time deciding whether to do what you already know is right, you simply begin. As you move forward, stop depending on willpower to carry you through every challenge. Willpower fades, but well-designed rules remain. Build standards that eliminate negotiation. Create routines that support your priorities. Let your daily actions become predictable because your principles are clear. Success rarely arrives through one extraordinary decision. It grows from ordinary decisions that no longer require debate. The moment your standards become rules instead of suggestions, consistency becomes easier, discipline becomes natural, and progress stops feeling accidental. You are no longer hoping for a better future, you are creating it, one rule, one action, and one day at a time. Chapter 6. Act before confidence arrives. One of the biggest myths people believe is that confidence comes first and action follows. They tell themselves, once I feel more confident, I'll apply for that job, I'll start the business, I'll have the difficult conversation, I'll finally take the first step. But confidence rarely works that way. More often than not, confidence is the result of action, not the reason for it. Think back to the first time you learned a new skill. Whether it was riding a bicycle, driving a car, speaking in front of a group, or starting a new job, you probably didn't feel confident in the beginning. You felt uncertain, you made mistakes, you questioned yourself. Yet with every attempt, something changed. Not because fear disappeared overnight, but because experience slowly replaced uncertainty. The confidence you eventually gained was built from doing the very thing you once avoided. This pattern repeats throughout life. We admire people who appear fearless, but what often looks like confidence is simply familiarity earned through repetition. They have failed enough times to understand that failure is not the end of progress. They have acted often enough that uncertainty no longer controls their decisions. The danger of waiting for confidence is that it creates a cycle with no beginning. You wait because you don't feel ready, but you never feel ready because you never begin. Days become weeks, weeks become months, and opportunities quietly pass by while you continue preparing for a future that never arrives. There is another truth worth remembering. The first step is almost always uncomfortable, not because you are incapable, but because your mind naturally prefers what is familiar. It interprets uncertainty as risk, even when the opportunity in front of you could completely change your life. This is why growth often feels unnatural at first. You are asking your mind to exchange certainty for possibility. Imagine standing at the edge of a cold lake on an early morning. The longer you stand there thinking about the water, the colder it seems. Your mind begins listing reasons to stay where you are. But the moment you step in, something changes. The anticipation disappears, and your attention shifts from imagining the experience to living it. Many of life's biggest challenges work the same way. The fear before action is often greater than the difficulty of the action itself. This does not mean you should ignore preparation. Preparation matters. Learning, planning, and practicing all have value. But there comes a point when preparation becomes another form of avoidance. If you spend all your time getting ready, you never give yourself the opportunity to grow through experience. Progress requires a willingness to leave the safety of endless planning and enter the uncertainty of real action. One practical way to overcome hesitation is to reduce the size of the first step. If writing a book feels overwhelming, write one page. If exercising for an hour feels impossible, begin with 10 minutes. If starting a business seems intimidating, make one phone call or send one email. Small actions have remarkable power because they interrupt the habit of postponement. Once you begin moving, momentum often carries you further than motivation ever could. Another powerful shift is changing the question you ask yourself. Instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What will happen if I never try?" Failure usually teaches a lesson. Inaction teaches regret. Most people look back on life wishing they had taken more chances, spoken more honestly, and acted more courageously. Very few regret making a sincere effort to improve themselves. It is also important to understand that confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the decision that fear will not make your choices for you. Courage and confidence are close partners, but courage always arrives first. You act despite uncertainty, and confidence quietly follows behind. As you continue raising your standards, stop treating confidence as a requirement. Treat it as a reward. Let your actions earn it day by day. Every difficult conversation you choose to have, every commitment you complete, every challenge you face instead of avoiding becomes another piece of evidence that you are capable of more than you once believed. Your future will not be built by the moments when you felt completely ready. It will be shaped by the moments when you chose to move forward despite uncertainty. The people who create extraordinary lives are not those who wait for fear to disappear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear become the author of their story. So act before confidence arrives. Begin before every answer is clear. Trust that ability grows through experience, not hesitation. Every bold action expands your comfort zone, strengthens your character, and raises the standard by which you live. One day, you will look back and realize that confidence was never waiting at the starting line. It was waiting at the finish line of every step you were brave enough to take. Chapter 7. Turn everyday choices into lasting excellence. People often imagine that extraordinary lives are built through extraordinary moments. They picture dramatic breakthroughs, life-changing opportunities, or a single decision that transforms everything overnight. Reality is far less dramatic and far more encouraging. Excellence is usually the result of ordinary choices repeated so consistently that they become impossible to separate from a person's character. Every day presents dozens of moments that seem too small to matter. Whether you get out of bed when the alarm rings, return a phone call you have been avoiding, finish a task before taking a break, or spend 20 minutes learning instead of scrolling through your phone, these decisions rarely attract attention, yet they quietly shape the direction of your future. Great lives are rarely created by one remarkable day. They are created by thousands of ordinary days handled with intention. Imagine watching two builders constructing separate homes. Each lays only a handful of bricks every day. If you observed them for a single afternoon, their progress would seem almost invisible, but return a year later and the difference is undeniable. One has built a strong, complete home. The other abandoned the project after working only when it felt convenient. The final result was not determined by one day of effort. It was determined by what happened consistently over time. Your life follows the same principle. Every action is like placing another brick. Alone, it appears insignificant. Repeated daily, it becomes the foundation of something much greater than you first imagined. Many people underestimate the power of consistency because they expect immediate rewards. They exercise for a week and expect dramatic results. They save money for a month and wonder why they are not financially secure. They practice a new skill a few times and become discouraged when mastery does not arrive quickly. They mistake slow progress for no progress, forgetting that meaningful change often happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. Think of a tree growing from a seed. For a long time, there seems to be very little happening. Yet beneath the ground, roots are spreading, strengthening, and preparing to support future growth. If someone judged the tree only by what they could immediately see, they might wrongly assume nothing was happening at all. Personal growth works in much the same way. Your daily efforts are building invisible strength before they produce visible results. This is why patience is such an important companion to discipline. When you understand that every worthwhile achievement takes time, you stop expecting instant success and start appreciating steady progress. You no longer ask whether today's effort changed your life. You ask whether today's effort moved you one step closer to the person you want to become. Another important lesson is that excellence is not reserved for special occasions. It is revealed in routine moments. The way you organize your workspace, respond to criticism, prepare for meetings, manage your finances, or speak to the people around you reflects your personal standard. These moments may never appear on a resume or earn public recognition, but they shape your character. Character in turn shapes every future opportunity. There is a quiet discipline in doing small things well, even when no one notices. Washing the dishes instead of leaving them for later. Arriving on time without making excuses. Completing a task even after your enthusiasm disappears. These actions may seem unrelated to larger goals, but they train something deeper than skill. They train reliability. A person who can be trusted with small responsibilities is preparing themselves for greater ones. At the same time, be careful not to underestimate the influence of seemingly harmless decisions. Skipping one workout may not change your health. Ignoring one important conversation may not ruin a relationship. Spending one evening distracted may not destroy your ambitions. But repeated often enough, these small choices establish a pattern. Your future is built by patterns, not isolated moments. That is why every ordinary decision deserves your attention. A helpful way to think about your daily choices is to ask yourself one simple question. If I repeated this action every day for the next 5 years, where would it lead me? That question immediately shifts your focus away from short-term comfort and toward long-term consequences. It reminds you that today's habits are tomorrow's reality. Excellence is not a destination you eventually reach. It is a way of approaching each day. It is choosing quality over convenience, responsibility over excuses, and consistency over intensity. It means refusing to wait for extraordinary opportunities while overlooking the ordinary ones already in front of you. As you continue this journey, remember that your future is not being shaped only by your biggest decisions. It is being shaped by the countless small choices you make when life feels ordinary. Those moments may never seem important while you are living them, but together they become the story of who you are. Choose wisely, act consistently, raise your standard in the smallest details, and over time you will discover that lasting excellence is never created by occasional greatness. It is built one ordinary decision at a time. Chapter 8. Build an environment that raises your standards. No matter how determined you are, you do not make decisions in isolation. Every day, you are influenced by the people you spend time with, the spaces you live in, the information you consume, and the routines that quietly shape your behavior. While most people focus on changing themselves, they often overlook the environment that is constantly shaping them. Yet your surroundings can either strengthen your discipline or slowly erode it without you realizing it. Imagine trying to grow a healthy plant. You could buy the best seed available, but if you place it in poor soil, deny it sunlight, and forget to water it, it will struggle no matter how much potential it has. The problem would not be the seed. It would be the environment. Human potential works much the same way. Talent matters, effort matters, but the conditions surrounding your daily life often determine whether your best qualities have room to grow. Start by looking at the physical spaces where you spend most of your time. A cluttered desk can make focused work feel more difficult. A bedroom filled with distractions can make quality rest harder to achieve. A phone within constant reach can interrupt your attention dozens of times a day before you even notice what happened. These details may seem insignificant, but they influence your behavior far more than you think. Your environment is always sending silent suggestions about what you should do next. Now consider the people around you. Every relationship leaves an impression. Some people challenge you to think bigger, keep your promises, and become more disciplined. Others encourage comfort, negativity, or complacency. This does not mean you should judge people harshly or distance yourself from everyone who struggles. It means you should recognize that attitudes are contagious. Spend enough time around people who constantly make excuses, and excuses begin to sound reasonable. Spend time with people who take responsibility for their lives, and accountability begins to feel natural. The same principle applies to the information you consume. Every article you read, every conversation you join, every video you watch, and every idea you repeatedly expose yourself to becomes part of your mental environment. Your mind cannot grow stronger if it is constantly filled with distraction, fear, comparison, or meaningless noise. Just as your body reflects the food you eat, your thinking reflects the ideas you repeatedly consume. Ask yourself a simple question. Does what I consume encourage the person I want to become? If the answer is no, then something needs to change. Protecting your attention is no longer optional in a world where countless voices compete for it every day. Attention is one of your most valuable resources because whatever consistently holds it eventually influences your choices. Another overlooked part of your environment is the routine you create. People often believe routines are boring, but they are actually powerful because they reduce unnecessary decisions. A consistent morning routine, a scheduled time for focused work, or an evening habit of reflection creates stability in a world full of distractions. These routines become signals that remind your mind what matters most. It is also worth remembering that your environment should make good choices easier and poor choices harder. If you want to read more, keep books where you can easily reach them. If you want to exercise consistently, prepare your workout clothes the night before. If you want to spend less time on your phone, move it out of sight while you work. Small adjustments to your surroundings often produce bigger changes than relying on willpower alone. Of course, you cannot control every environment you enter. You may work with difficult people, face unexpected challenges, or live in circumstances that are far from ideal. But you can always control how intentionally you respond. You can choose the conversations you encourage, the habits you protect, and the standards you refuse to compromise. Even in imperfect conditions, your daily choices remain your responsibility. As your standards rise, your environment should begin to reflect them. The people you seek out, the books you read, the goals you pursue, and the habits you practice should all point in the same direction. When your surroundings support your values instead of competing with them, discipline becomes less of a struggle and more of a natural extension of the life you are creating. Remember, success is rarely built through isolated acts of determination. It grows in environments that encourage consistency, build spaces that invite focus, choose relationships that strengthen your character, fill your mind with ideas that challenge you to grow. Design routines that make progress easier than procrastination. When your environment begins working with you instead of against you, raising your standards no longer feels like an uphill battle. It becomes the natural result of living in a world you have intentionally shaped, one decision, one habit, and one meaningful choice at a time. Chapter 9. Choose future respect over present comfort. Every meaningful decision comes with a hidden question. What matters more right now, comfort or the person I am becoming? Most people answer this question without realizing it. They choose the easier option, not because they are incapable of doing better, but because immediate comfort always feels more convincing than distant rewards. The challenge is that comfort speaks to the present, while growth speaks to the future. Every time the two compete, your choice shapes far more than the next few minutes. It shapes your character. Comfort is not the enemy. Rest has its place. Recovery is essential. Enjoying life is important. The problem begins when comfort becomes the default response to every challenge. When avoiding difficulty becomes a habit, potential slowly gives way to convenience. You stop asking what is necessary and start asking what feels easiest. That subtle shift lowers your standards one decision at a time. Think about how often people postpone meaningful work. They tell themselves they will start tomorrow, wait until they feel more energetic, or promise to begin after life becomes less busy. These reasons often sound reasonable, but beneath them is a simple desire to avoid temporary discomfort. Unfortunately, delayed effort rarely removes difficulty. It usually makes the challenge larger. Problems ignored today often demand greater attention tomorrow. There is another kind of reward that many people overlook because it cannot be measured immediately. It is the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you did what needed to be done, even when it was difficult. You may not receive applause for waking up early, finishing an important task, keeping your word, or making a responsible financial decision. But those actions leave something more valuable than recognition. They leave self-respect. Self-respect is earned differently from confidence. Confidence grows when you prove you are capable. Self-respect grows when you prove you are trustworthy. It develops every time you choose what is right instead of what is easy. It becomes stronger each time you honor your commitments, especially when no one else knows whether you followed through. Imagine two people at the end of a long day. Both are tired. Both have a goal they care about. One decides to postpone the work because the sofa feels more inviting than the challenge ahead. The other spends just 30 focused minutes making progress before resting. Neither decision changes life overnight, but repeat those choices for a year and the difference becomes extraordinary. One person collects unfinished intentions. The other collects completed actions. Over time, those completed actions become a source of deep personal pride. Many people chase happiness while neglecting self-respect. They seek pleasure, entertainment, and comfort, believing those experiences will create a fulfilling life. Yet lasting fulfillment rarely comes from avoiding effort. It comes from knowing you consistently lived according to your values. Temporary comfort fades quickly. Self-respect stays with you because it is built through your own choices. One practical way to strengthen this mindset is to pause before making an important decision and ask yourself, which choice will make me respect myself more tomorrow? This simple question shifts your attention away from immediate emotion and toward long-term identity. It reminds you that today's comfort should never be allowed to steal tomorrow's confidence. Of course, choosing future respect over present comfort does not mean becoming harsh with yourself or refusing every moment of enjoyment. A meaningful life includes rest, celebration, and balance. The difference lies in intention. Rest should prepare you to move forward, not become an escape from responsibility. Comfort should be a reward for effort, not a substitute for it. As your standards continue to rise, you will notice that discomfort begins to lose its power. Difficult conversations become easier because you value honesty more than avoidance. Challenging work becomes more rewarding because progress matters more than convenience. Sacrifices begin to feel less like losses and more like investments in the person you are building. The remarkable thing about self-respect is that no one can give it to you, and no one can take it away. It is earned privately through decisions that often go unnoticed by everyone except you. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, responsibility over excuses, and purpose over comfort, you strengthen something that success alone cannot provide, a quiet confidence rooted in integrity. Your future is being shaped by the choices you make when comfort invites you to settle. Do not ask what feels easiest in this moment. Ask what kind of life your decision is creating. Choose the action that your future self will thank you for, because in the end, the greatest reward is not the comfort you enjoyed today. It is the respect you earn for the person you become tomorrow. Chapter 10. Judge yourself by evidence, not intentions. One of the easiest mistakes to make is confusing good intentions with meaningful progress. Most people genuinely want to improve their lives. They want to become healthier, more disciplined, financially secure, and emotionally stronger. Their intentions are sincere. The problem is that life does not respond to intentions. It responds to actions. The future is shaped by what you repeatedly do, not by what you repeatedly promise yourself you will do. Intentions are important because they give direction, but direction alone never moves a person forward. Imagine standing at the base of a mountain with a detailed map in your hand. You know exactly where you want to go. You have studied the route, gathered the right equipment, and even told others about your plan. Yet if you never take the first step, the mountain remains exactly where it was. Preparation has value, but movement creates progress. This is why honest self-evaluation matters. It is easy to judge yourself by your ambitions because they are inspiring. It is much harder to judge yourself by your daily behavior because behavior reveals the truth without emotion. Your calendar, your habits, your spending, your conversations, and the way you use your time provide a more accurate picture of your priorities than your goals ever will. There is a quiet difference between the life you imagine and the life you are building. The first exists in your thoughts. The second exists in your actions. If those two versions do not match, the answer is not to dream bigger. The answer is to bring your behavior into alignment with your values. Many people unintentionally protect themselves from uncomfortable truths by creating explanations instead of evidence. They say they could have succeeded if they had more time, better opportunities, or different circumstances. While those factors can certainly influence outcomes, they should never become permanent excuses. Growth begins the moment you ask, "What have my actions actually proven?" That question removes opinion and replaces it with reality. Think about someone who says fitness is a priority but rarely exercises, or someone who claims family comes first but is constantly distracted when spending time with loved ones, or someone who wants financial freedom yet repeatedly spends without purpose. None of these people are dishonest. Their intentions may be completely genuine, but their actions tell a different story. Real change begins when they become willing to listen to that story instead of defending it. This principle is not meant to create guilt. It is meant to create clarity. Evidence is valuable because it shows you where change is needed. If you discover that your habits do not support your goals, you have not failed. You have simply identified the gap between the person you want to become and the person your daily choices are creating. Once that gap becomes visible, it can be closed. One effective habit is to regularly review your day with complete honesty. Instead of asking, "Did I have good intentions today?" ask questions that require evidence. Did I keep the promises I made to myself? Did I spend my time on what truly mattered? Did my actions reflect my priorities? These questions may be uncomfortable, but they are also empowering because they place responsibility back where it belongs, in your hands. It is equally important to celebrate evidence of progress, no matter how small. Every completed workout, every difficult conversation you handled with integrity, every distraction you resisted, and every commitment you honored becomes proof that you are moving in the right direction. Confidence grows when your actions repeatedly confirm the values you claim to hold. As you continue raising your standards, let evidence become your greatest teacher. Do not allow temporary emotions to define your progress. Look at your habits. Look at your routines. Look at the choices you make when no one is watching. Those moments reveal your true direction far more accurately than occasional bursts of enthusiasm. There will be times when the evidence is encouraging and times when it is disappointing. Accept both with humility. Success is not built by pretending everything is going well. It is built by facing reality with the courage to improve it. Honest feedback, even when it is difficult, is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. From this point forward, stop measuring your life by what you hope to accomplish someday. Measure it by the actions that can be seen, repeated, and trusted. Let your behavior become the strongest argument for your character. Let your habits become proof of your commitment. When your actions consistently support your values, you no longer need to convince yourself that you are changing. The evidence will speak for itself, and the life you are building will become impossible to ignore. Chapter 11. Make self-discipline your default response. There comes a point in every person's journey when success stops depending on inspiration and starts depending on identity. At first, discipline feels like a constant battle. You must remind yourself to stay focused, resist distractions, and complete tasks you would rather avoid. Every good decision seems to require effort, but with enough repetition, something remarkable happens. Discipline stops feeling like a struggle and begins to feel like your natural response. This transformation does not happen because life becomes easier. It happens because you stop treating discipline as something you occasionally practice and start treating it as part of who you are. You no longer ask whether you should do the right thing. You simply do it because it has become your standard. Think about brushing your teeth. Most people do not wake up each morning and debate whether they should do it. It is not an emotional decision. It is an automatic part of daily life. Years of repetition have removed the need for motivation. Imagine applying that same principle to the habits that matter most. What if exercising, reading, planning your day, or finishing important work became just as automatic? That is the real power of discipline. It removes unnecessary negotiation. The biggest obstacle to consistency is not difficulty. It is internal bargaining. It is the quiet conversation that begins the moment a challenge appears. I'll do it later. Today has been stressful. Missing one day won't matter. These thoughts seem harmless, but every negotiation creates another opportunity to abandon your commitment. The more often you argue with yourself, the more likely comfort will win. People who consistently achieve meaningful goals have not eliminated discomfort. They have eliminated many of these internal debates. They understand that every unnecessary decision drains attention and weakens commitment. Instead of asking themselves whether they feel like taking action, they have already decided that certain behaviors are simply part of the way they live. This does not mean they are perfect. They still experience difficult mornings, unexpected setbacks, and moments of frustration. The difference is that they do not allow temporary emotions to rewrite permanent standards. They understand that emotions are visitors, standards are foundations. One powerful way to strengthen self-discipline is to reduce the gap between making a decision and acting on it. The longer you wait, the more excuses your mind creates. If an important task takes only a few minutes to begin immediately. If you know a difficult conversation needs to happen, schedule it instead of repeatedly postponing it. Action weakens hesitation. Delay strengthens it. Another important lesson is to stop viewing discipline as punishment. Many people associate it with sacrifice, restriction, or constant pressure. In reality, discipline creates freedom. A disciplined person enjoys greater control over their finances because they manage money wisely. They experience better health because they consistently care for their body. They enjoy stronger relationships because they invest time and attention where it matters. The temporary effort of discipline produces long-term freedom that impulsive choices rarely provide. Notice also that self-discipline grows through repetition, not intensity. You do not become dependable by having one extraordinary day. You become dependable by repeatedly honoring small commitments. Every promise you keep sends a message to your mind that your words can be trusted. Over time, these small victories reshape your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries to be disciplined and begin seeing yourself as someone who naturally follows through. There will always be moments when you fall short. A routine may be interrupted. A goal may take longer than expected. A difficult season may challenge your consistency. When that happens, resist the temptation to abandon your standards altogether. One mistake does not erase your progress. What matters most is how quickly you return to the habits that define the person you are becoming. Recovery is a form of discipline too. As your standards continue to rise, begin paying less attention to how you feel and more attention to how you respond. Feelings change from hour to hour, but your response is always a choice. Every time you choose responsibility over excuses, focus over distraction, and action over hesitation, you strengthen a habit that becomes easier to repeat the next time. The ultimate goal is not to force yourself through life with endless effort. The goal is to create a character that naturally moves toward what is right, even when it is difficult. That is when discipline becomes more than a skill. It becomes your default setting. From this day forward, let discipline become your first response instead of your last resort. Stop negotiating with your principles. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Build a life where keeping your word becomes automatic, where consistency becomes ordinary, and where your actions no longer depend on your mood. Because the strongest version of yourself is not created by occasional moments of determination. It is created by daily discipline practiced so consistently that it becomes second nature. Chapter 12. Design a life that runs on strong systems. By now, one truth should be impossible to ignore. Lasting success is not built on isolated moments of determination. It is built on repeatable patterns. The people who achieve remarkable results are rarely making extraordinary decisions every day. Instead, they have created systems that quietly guide ordinary decisions in the right direction. Their progress is not accidental, it is designed. Many people spend their lives chasing outcomes while ignoring the process that produces those outcomes. They focus on losing weight, but never create a routine for healthy eating. They want financial freedom, but never establish a habit of saving. They dream of writing a book, but never schedule time to write. Goals point toward a destination, but systems determine whether you keep moving after the excitement wears off. Imagine trying to fill a bucket with water while it has a hole in the bottom. No matter how much water you pour in, it continues to leak away. Working harder may slow the problem for a while, but it never solves it. The wiser solution is to repair the bucket. Your life works in much the same way. If your daily routines constantly drain your energy, attention, and focus, no amount of motivation will permanently fix the problem. You need better systems, not bigger bursts of effort. A strong system is simply a reliable way of doing the right thing repeatedly. It removes unnecessary friction and makes positive behavior easier to sustain. Instead of relying on memory, you rely on structure. Instead of depending on emotion, you depend on routine. This shift changes everything because routines continue working long after motivation disappears. Consider your mornings. Many people begin the day by reacting to whatever demands their attention first. They check notifications, answer messages, and allow other people's priorities to shape their schedule. Before they realize it, the day is controlling them instead of the other way around. A simple morning system can completely change that experience. Taking a few minutes to plan your priorities, protect your focus, and begin with purposeful action creates momentum that carries into the rest of the day. The same principle applies to every important area of life. If you want to read more, decide exactly when and where reading will happen. If you want to exercise consistently, remove every unnecessary obstacle between yourself and the workout. If you want to improve your finances, create automatic habits that encourage saving before spending. Good systems reduce the number of decisions you need to make because the right action has already been built into your routine. It is equally important to recognize that not all systems deserve to remain. Every person already lives according to a collection of routines, whether intentional or not. Some systems produce growth, others quietly produce stagnation. Reaching for your phone every time you feel bored is a system. Leaving important work until the last minute is a system. Constantly saying yes to every request at the expense of your own priorities is also a system. If your current routines consistently produce frustration, they need to be redesigned rather than defended. One useful habit is to examine your day like an architect studying a blueprint. Instead of asking, "Why am I not making more progress?" ask, "Which part of my daily routine makes progress difficult?" This question shifts your attention away from blaming yourself and toward improving the structure that supports your behavior. Often, the problem is not a lack of determination. It is a process that makes good choices unnecessarily difficult. Strong systems also create stability during uncertain seasons. There will be times when work becomes demanding, unexpected problems arise, or motivation fades. During those moments, routines become your safety net. Even if you cannot perform at your best every day, a reliable system helps you continue moving forward. Small, consistent actions are far more valuable than occasional bursts of perfection followed by long periods of inactivity. As your standards continue to rise, remember that your life will always reflect the quality of the systems you repeat. Every routine is quietly training your future. Every habit is reinforcing an identity. Every structure you create is either supporting your goals or competing with them. Do not wait until life feels easier before building better systems. Build them now while life is imperfect. Design routines that protect your attention, strengthen your discipline, and make meaningful action the easiest choice available. When your systems are strong, progress becomes less dependent on mood, circumstances, or luck. Success stops feeling like something you occasionally achieve and becomes something your daily life naturally produces. In the end, the strongest foundation for an extraordinary future is not extraordinary effort. It is an ordinary day designed with extraordinary intention. Chapter 13. Lead yourself before you try to lead your life. Every person wants greater control over their future. They want to improve their career, strengthen their relationships, build financial security, and create a life they are proud of. Yet many overlook one essential truth. You cannot consistently direct your life until you learn to direct yourself. The quality of your decisions determines the quality of your direction, and the quality of your self-leadership determines the quality of those decisions. Self-leadership is different from self-discipline, though the two work together. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when it is difficult. Self-leadership is the ability to decide what truly deserves your effort in the first place. It means becoming the kind of person who can guide their own thoughts, emotions, and actions, instead of allowing circumstances to take control. Imagine a ship crossing a vast ocean. Storms will appear, winds will change, waves will push against the hull. The captain cannot control the weather, but they can control the direction of the ship. They make adjustments, stay focused on the destination, and refuse to surrender the wheel simply because conditions become difficult. Your life works the same way. You cannot control every challenge that comes your way, but you can choose how you respond to it. Many people unknowingly surrender that responsibility. A small setback ruins an entire day. A critical comment destroys their confidence. One unexpected problem causes them to abandon their routine completely. In those moments, outside events become the leaders and personal values become followers. Self-leadership begins when you decide that your principles will remain stronger than your circumstances. This requires emotional responsibility. It does not mean ignoring emotions or pretending they do not exist. Emotions carry valuable information, but they should never become permanent decision makers. Feeling frustrated does not mean giving up is the right choice. Feeling afraid does not mean you should avoid an opportunity. Feeling discouraged does not mean your progress has ended. Strong leaders acknowledge emotions without allowing emotions to dictate every action. Another important part of self-leadership is learning to ask better questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of asking, "Why am I not motivated?" ask, "What action can I take right now?" The questions you repeat shape the perspective you develop. Better questions lead to better thinking, and better thinking produces better decisions. Self-leadership also requires honesty. It is easy to identify weaknesses in other people. It is much harder to recognize your own patterns. Notice where you repeatedly make excuses. Notice the situations where you avoid responsibility or settle for less than your potential. These observations are not reasons to criticize yourself. They are opportunities to become more aware. Awareness is the beginning of meaningful change because you cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. One of the strongest signs of personal growth is the ability to correct yourself without waiting for someone else to do it. Instead of depending on external pressure, you begin holding yourself accountable. You notice when your habits drift away from your values and make adjustments before the problem grows larger. This ability creates lasting independence because your progress no longer depends on constant reminders or outside encouragement. It is equally important to define the principles that will guide your life. When you know what matters most, decisions become clearer. Integrity, responsibility, consistency, curiosity, kindness, or excellence, whatever values you choose, let them become your internal compass. Circumstances will change, but principles should remain steady. They provide direction when emotions are uncertain and confidence is temporarily shaken. Remember that leadership is demonstrated through example, not intention. Before you can inspire anyone else, your own actions must reflect the standards you believe in. Whether anyone is watching or not, your habits reveal what you truly value. Every promise you keep strengthens your credibility with yourself. Every challenge you face with courage reinforces your character. As this journey continues, stop waiting for someone else to rescue your potential. Become the person who gives yourself direction every day. Guide your attention instead of letting distractions guide it. Direct your choices instead of letting emotions make them. Lead your habits instead of allowing old routines to control your future. In the end, the greatest leader you will ever follow is the one you become. When you can trust your own decisions, remain steady through uncertainty, and act according to your values regardless of circumstances, you gain something more powerful than temporary success. You gain the ability to lead yourself with purpose. And once you can consistently lead yourself, you will discover that leading your life is no longer a struggle. It becomes the natural outcome of the person you have chosen to become. Chapter 14. Live by standards that outlast motivation. As this journey comes to its final chapter, one idea should stand above all the others. Lasting transformation is not created by powerful speeches, ambitious resolutions, or temporary bursts of determination. It is created by the standards you choose to uphold long after the excitement has disappeared. Motivation may open the door, but standards determine whether you continue walking when the path becomes difficult. Look back at everything you have explored. You learned that your habits reveal your true standards, that confidence grows through action, that discipline becomes stronger through repetition, and that systems create consistency when emotions fade. None of these lessons exist on their own. Together, they point toward a single truth. Your future is built by the life you repeatedly practice, not the life you occasionally imagine. Many people spend years searching for the next breakthrough, believing one perfect strategy will solve every problem. They read another book, watch another inspirational video, or wait for the next burst of motivation. But meaningful change rarely arrives as one dramatic event. More often, it appears quietly in the form of better daily decisions. The person who improves a little every day eventually travels farther than the person who waits for the perfect moment to make one giant leap. The greatest advantage of living by high standards is that your identity becomes stable. You no longer change direction every time your emotions change. A difficult week does not convince you to abandon your goals. A setback does not cause you to question your values. Praise does not make you complacent, and criticism does not stop your progress. Your standards become your anchor, allowing you to move through success and failure with the same steady commitment. This does not mean life becomes free of obstacles. Challenges will continue to appear. There will still be moments of disappointment, uncertainty, and fatigue. The difference is that you will respond differently. Instead of asking whether the situation is easy, you will ask whether your response reflects the person you have chosen to become. That single shift places your focus where it belongs, not on circumstances you cannot control, but on actions you always can. There is a quiet strength that comes from becoming dependable. It is the confidence of knowing that your words and your actions are no longer strangers. When you make a commitment, you follow through. When you identify a responsibility, you accept it. When life becomes difficult, you continue moving forward instead of searching for excuses. This kind of reliability is one of the rarest qualities in any field, and it earns something more valuable than admiration. It earns trust from other people and from yourself. As you move beyond this audiobook, remember that every new day is an opportunity to reinforce your standards. You do not need a new year, a new job, or a dramatic life event to begin again. You need only the willingness to make one better choice than you made yesterday. Small improvements, repeated consistently, reshape lives in ways that dramatic promises never can. There will be days when your progress feels invisible. Continue anyway. There will be moments when no one notices your effort. Continue anyway. There will be times when the results arrive more slowly than you expected. Continue anyway. The value of disciplined action is not determined by immediate recognition. It is determined by the person that action is quietly shaping within you. Never forget that standards are not measured during comfortable moments. They are revealed when you are tired, distracted, disappointed, or tempted to settle for less. Those ordinary moments are your true training ground. Every time you choose responsibility over excuses, focus over distraction, courage over avoidance, and integrity over convenience, you strengthen the foundation of your future. One day someone may look at your life and assume your success came from talent, luck, or perfect timing. They will see the results, but not the countless ordinary decisions that created them. They will not see the mornings when you chose discipline over comfort, the evenings when you finished the work instead of postponing it, or the quiet promises you kept when no one else was watching. but you will know. And that knowledge is worth more than applause because it cannot be taken away. So leave this journey with a simple commitment. Stop chasing motivation as though it holds the key to your future. Build standards that remain firm when emotions rise and fall. Let your actions become a reflection of your principles, your habits become evidence of your character, and your consistency become the foundation of every goal you pursue. In the end, the life you create will never be remembered for the plans you made or the intentions you carried. It will be remembered for the choices you repeated until they became your identity. Raise your standards, honor them every day, and allow your actions to tell the story that your words never could. That is how ordinary people create extraordinary lives, not through perfect moments, but through unwavering commitment to the standards they refuse to compromise. Conclusion. You have reached the end of this audiobook, but in many ways, you are standing at the beginning of something far more important. Knowledge has value only when it changes the way you live. The ideas you've explored throughout these chapters are not meant to remain in your memory as inspiring thoughts. They are meant to become daily practices that shape your decisions, strengthen your character, and redefine the direction of your life. From the beginning, one message has remained constant. Your future is not determined by what you intend to do. It is determined by what you repeatedly choose to do. Every action, no matter how small, casts a vote for the person you are becoming. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce trust. Each time you choose responsibility over excuses, focus over distraction, and discipline over comfort, you raise the standard by which you live. Do not wait for the perfect season, the perfect mindset, or the perfect opportunity. Life rarely slows down long enough for ideal conditions to appear. Progress belongs to those who move forward despite uncertainty, who remain committed when motivation fades, and who continue building even when results are not yet visible. Real growth is rarely dramatic. More often, it is quiet, steady, and almost invisible until one day you realize you have become the person you once hoped to be. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you fall short of your own expectations. Do not mistake those moments for failure. Every meaningful journey includes obstacles. What matters is not whether you stumble, but whether you choose to stand up with a higher standard than before. Consistency is not about being perfect. It is about refusing to let one mistake become a permanent direction. As you move forward, simplify your focus. Ask yourself one question each day. What action would the best version of me take next? Then take that action without waiting for confidence, permission, or applause. Repeat that process often enough, and your habits will reshape your identity. Your identity will reshape your future. 1 year from now, your life will reflect the choices you begin making today. Let those choices be intentional. Let them reflect courage instead of comfort, purpose instead of distraction, and action instead of endless preparation. Raise your standards not to impress the world, but to become someone you genuinely respect. The story of your life will never be written by your plans alone. It will be written by the actions you repeat when no one is watching and when no reward is guaranteed. So leave this audiobook with a clear commitment. Speak less about the life you want and build more of it every single day. Because lasting change does not begin with extraordinary talent or perfect circumstances. It begins the moment your actions consistently become stronger than your excuses. From that moment forward, your standards stop following your life and start leading it.